Hi everyone, thanks for stopping by and seeing what I'm up to. My name is Silkyfeather and you can call me Silky. Kevin's got an update. Let's take a listen. Maybe.
Check and future stimulus negotiations. Where exactly do we stand as of today? Let's get right into it so we can break it down. I'm going to pull up a flow chart and we'll walk through everything in a bottom line fashion so we know where and when can we expect the next rounds of stimulus, including a possible stimulus check. Also, keep in mind that coupon code Larry for the YouTube Make Money From Home course and the real estate investing or the stock investing course, the coupon code Larry does expire soon. So take advantage of that. It's a really good coupon code. It's somewhere around 35%, which is great. Take advantage of that and we'll see you in there soon. Let's get into the content. First, the executive orders. Let's not spend a lot of time on here because we already know a lot about these. Some of this is going to sound familiar if you watch regularly, so we'll get to the updates very quickly here. Payroll tax cut, we know it's not working. Eviction protections, we know they're not working. In fact, Larry Kudlow says he knows they're not working as well, and he's really the mouthpiece over at the White House. Deferred student loan payments for federal loans, great. Those are working. Perfect. The unemployment for 5-ish weeks of unemployment pay at about $300 per week. Some, probably few states will do the extra $100 boost. Slowly working. So far, Arizona has been paid with its first $300, and the following states here, which you can just look on screen and read off the names here. I won't read them all just to save time. These are all the states that are in the application process right now, and their payments will be pending once they get through this application phase. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says, obviously, that these executive orders are not perfect, but we need to do something. He also says that targeted stimulus checks are good for the economy and an election. But we do know that the executive orders did not include stimulus checks. Now we know there's this HEROES proposal, right? This has funding for the SNAP program, the food stamp program, which if you haven't seen, if you qualify for that yet, don't be embarrassed. Take advantage of this. This is a very important time to make sure you've got every resource you can. So call the numbers here, either 211-1-800-221-5689 is the alternate number here. The SALT tax deduction, 950 bill and state and local government funding. We know that this is the big $3.4 trillion spending bill. PPP, schools, EIDL, testing, tracing, treatment, fixes the loopholes in mortgage forbearance that banks try to use to take advantage of people, and would give $1,200 stimulus checks plus $1,200 to dependents. This has a very low chance of passing, right? This is considered dead on arrival, under 5% chance of really passing the way it is. Even Nancy Pelosi, who really pushed this bill through, has already revised her stimulus proposals down to $2 trillion, which is almost half of what the HEROES Act is. So this one's virtually not going to happen. The HEALS Act. This was sort of the Republican counter-proposal, although there were too few Republicans to even pass this one. So the HEALS Act never got passed by the Senate. It was just introduced. This would give $1,200 stimulus checks plus $500 to all dependents, regardless of age. This probably also less than a 10% chance of passing. They can't even get Republicans on board with it. Probably not likely to happen. You know, it would give liability protections, more tax credits, working capital loans, money for schools, PPP funding, and so on. But again, not likely to happen. Now we've got this interesting thing happening. We've got two things going on here. The USPS hinge. This is the Saturday vote that we're expecting in the House of Representatives. That means all of the representatives are coming back to work this Saturday under the guidance and leadership of Nancy Pelosi. And their goal is to potentially pass a bill in the House reverting any changes that were made at the United States Postal Service by Mr. DeJoy, the new Postmaster General, reverting any changes in policies or guidelines back to the January 2020 policies and guidelines and practices, and they want that to stay that way through January 2021. This vote is expected tomorrow. Now, over 100 representatives have sent letters to Nancy Pelosi, or sort of joint letters to Nancy Pelosi, also demanding that we introduce some sort of unemployment solution, potentially the $600 per week through the end of the year, as part of the Saturday vote. They have not mentioned stimulus checks in the USPS hinge. That's the Saturday vote. That has not been brought up. Right now, we're only looking at unemployment and the USPS, and that vote is expected tomorrow. And this is by House Democrats. We also expect that if the unemployment boost gets passed, well, first of all, remember that'll be good for landlords and tenants. But if we see that unemployment boost pass, we might also see it contain some sort of stabilizer. A stabilizer would really be something that allows Congress to say, okay, if unemployment falls below a certain rate, the $600 boost will automatically scale down. So keep an eye on this tomorrow. Obviously, subscribe. I'll be breaking that down in detail. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This is the USPS and skinny compromise combo. This is where the fun and potential magic is going to happen. So right now, Republicans are proposing a skinny bill, the text of which we have not yet seen. In this, we're expecting to see $105 billion for schools. Here's sort of the division as to how the school money would get spent. And when you see money to the governor, that just means it's not like in his pocket. That's discretionary money that he can spend. This has a 99% chance of actually happening if we see some sort of stimulus or compromise skinny bill, mostly because both Democrats and Republicans are on board with this. The same is true with the PPP, although there's a debate over whether or not revenues would have to have declined 25 or 50%. We've got $45 billion to the Department of Health and Human Services and Social Services Emergency Fund. This is very likely to happen as well because it includes funding for vaccines, testing, tracing, treatment, and so on and so forth. Also gives a little bit of state and local funding. Not much, not as much as Democrats are hoping for. State and local government funding is up in the air. There is a chance, maybe we'll put it over here with liability protection, so we'll get there in just a second. Okay, so instead, let's focus right now. We've got $10 billion for the post office as very likely, although Democrats are expected to counter this, so we'll likely see some sort of negotiation on the post office funding. $300 to $600 as a real unemployment boost, rather than this executive order just sort of extending the previous program, seems to be a better option that legislatures are interested in passing. We're not sure if this will include stabilizers and what amount it'll be. My guess is it'll be somewhere around $400 per week as a compromise, though no guarantees of that. It'll very likely be between $300 and $600 per week. And that is expected to be negotiated in a skinny/post office compromise. Because remember this,
That's
just
tomorrow,
to
right?
tie these two together. Up here, the heels and the heroes, these are not likely to happen, right? Heels and heroes, not very likely to happen. But instead, we've got this USPS hitch here that's going to get passed by the House. That's going to come up to the Senate to then negotiate. And it's very likely the Senate is going to want to negotiate the House bill along with their skinny priorities over here. That's where we might see this sort of compromise combination. That's why I'm bringing this section up here, where we've got these 99% likely options of seeing money for schools, the PPP, $45 billion for testing, tracing, and treatment, post office, some funding, the unemployment. Maybe. So 60 to 65% chance we'll see those liability protections in this. That might be a January thing, but it's possible that we'll see them in this. It's also quite possible that we'll see the state and local government funding come up in this skinny bill, though I'm going to probably put this closer to 50% realistically, because even Nancy Pelosi has said she's willing to wait until January to deal with this. So maybe we'll just keep that lined out for right now. All right, this is really our only hope here for stimulus checks, is that there's some kind of compromise that happens between the skinny bill and the USPS hitch that we're going to see tomorrow. And when I say hitch, I mean hitching unemployment to this USPS bill that we might see in the voting session tomorrow.
That sounds
we'll see
likely.
Those could be separate bills. They could be a combined bill in the House if they pass them separately. It wouldn't be a surprise for Republicans in the Senate to say, hey, well, we want to see the skinny bill negotiated along with your other priorities. If the Republicans in the Senate want to see their priorities negotiated, in order to get Democrats on board with the Republican priorities, even where there is common ground, it would not surprise me, and this is an expectation that we're seeing based on what a lot of senators and representatives are saying, it wouldn't be surprising to see stimulus checks included in this compromise skinny bill. So I personally believe that this has a 50% chance of passing. It's very unlikely that we'll see something like this pass both chambers of Congress before August 31st to September 4th. That's because next week is the RNC, the DNC just wrapped up, so we're unlikely to see any progress until August 31st to September 4th, with the exception of tomorrow. Tomorrow is August 22nd, and I think we'll see some very interesting progress, because we'll see what is done in the House regarding this USPS hitch, and that's going to really set up the negotiation with the Senate on this likely USPS skinny compromise bill. So, Labor Day weekend happens between the 4th and the 7th of September. It's very likely that Republicans and Democrats will want to pass something before extended weekend on campaigning rather than focusing on bills that should have been passed a long time ago. Representatives and senators many of them are up for re-election. Everyone who's a representative that's up for re-election. We've got a third of the Senate that's up for re-election. So you've got a lot of pressure to get something done so folks can show their constituents, look, we got something done. If this skinny compromise passes, it's almost guaranteed that Trump is going to sign this. He says he doesn't want to be involved in negotiations unless Democrats and Republicans have come together and passed something. And to me, this looks like it is something that could very well occur. Again, for us to actually see stimulus checks in this, Democrats are going to have to fold on some of the Republican priorities, even where there's common ground, including these liability protections, and postponing state and local pay until January, and maybe coming down on the $600 amount for unemployment. But in turn, it's quite possible that Democrats would then be able to get a stimulus check included. So that's going to be where the negotiation remains for now. So that's the state of stimulus. If we do get this passed and signed by September 4th, it's likely we might see stimulus checks, if they're included, somewhere by the 15th to 25th of September. Though we'll see. We don't know if this is going to be included. It'll be a big tell to see what Democrats include tomorrow. If Democrats as sort of an expectation for tomorrow, if they include unemployment and the USPS changes as expected, okay, this might align with, what we've talked about here. If they include the $600 boost, the USPS changes, and stimulus checks, that would signal that those are a huge priority to Democrats. And then I would say on this compromise bill, we'd be able to move this 50% chance of seeing them up to around 75%. It'd be nice if Democrats signal that tomorrow, though it's unlikely that we will see it tomorrow. I think we'll just see unemployment and the USPS. And that's why we'll end up having to wait until after the RNC to see what the Senate ends up bringing up. So next week is the RNC. Tomorrow will be a big day to see what's on Democrats' minds. There you have it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody who came, by the way, to the late show.
Yes, thank you so much for stopping by and seeing what I'm up to. My name is Silkyfeather, and you can call me Silky. Please don't mind my studio behind me. This is where I do all my crafting and all my artwork, so it's always a little bit of a disarray. My puppy always wants to have the center of attention. Lately. Bye, everyone. Thanks. Like, subscribe, and share. New videos coming up.